Give it a few seconds here. All right. Welcome to the Freedom Fries Real Estate Podcast. We have Jason and Ian here with us. We're super excited for a couple of reasons. One, Jason and Ian are awesome. And two, this is our first, I don't even know what you call it. We have two guests at the same time. So Spiros and I are stepping out of our comfort zone here. We're moving on to bigger and better things. So we'll stop talking. Jason and Ian have some great content for us this afternoon. So we'll let them introduce themselves, and then we'll kick the show off, and we'll start asking some questions and get the conversation flowing. So Jason, Ian, floor is yours.
Go ahead, Jason. I'll let you start.
Excellent. Well, I think like most people probably listen to this podcast and, other accelerator grads, I'm also a veteran. All right. So I was a West Point graduate back in 99.
I'm sorry to hear
went
that.
on to become went on to become an infantry officer for about 6 years. Spent some time in Germany. A year of that was in Kosovo. And then my last assignment was in the Old Guard, which is how I ended up in Arlington, Virginia, where I've been for about the last 20 years. Since leaving the Army, I've actually had a career in wealth management. So, as a result, I've learned a ton about investing, financial planning, wealth, money, and of course, all the benefits and the complexities that can come along with that.
So what I'm hearing is there's a lot of free advice available today.
You got me. Yeah. You take it while you can get it.
I love it. Cool.
Ian,
and I'm a 1998 graduate of the reigning Commander-in-Chief trophy holders.
There we go.
West Point.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so you know how it is. It's just how we roll.
Spiros is outnumbered today, man.
This is terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible that you guys lose so often. But anyways, so I'm still in. I'm active duty still. I'm a foreign area officer. I'm a Latin American foreign area officer. And if you look at where I've been so far, I've been to Afghanistan, Haiti, Somalia, New Zealand. Not a lot of Latin America in there. So apparently they speak Spanish in Somalia.
I was going to say, you're really getting to use that Spanish, huh?
Yeah, no, I've been some other places too, but I mean, I've done 3 out of region tours, so I'm a bit of a unicorn. But it's been great. I learned a lot of different things there, and I've been able to indulge my my fetishes of learning about taxes and finances and things like that. So when I was in the accelerator with Jason, we were on the same team. I pretty much was diving into the Mark Kohler stuff and a few other people's stuff about how to, just on the tax side. So I'm a bit of a nerd with that. And that's the kind of stuff I'd always bring into the accelerator and how to do different things with money. So I like to use my FEO type thinking, which is always, we never have enough and we're always on the bad side of a policy. Right. So I try to bring that to the real estate and the financial world.
That's great.
That's real cool.
Well, this is super exciting. So despite the fact that I'm the lone Navy man here, I am super excited to get to know you guys. Jason and I have made each other's acquaintance actually in person when we were in Vegas. We bumped into each other at a Financial Freedom Summit
Yes.
that we both attended. And quite honestly, Jason was foolish enough to invest in one of my larger wholesale deals. So,
cool.
Wealth manager, yes. Judgment, not sure. But
ouch.
But yeah, no. But Jason, let me put you on the spot for a second and ask you to kind of tell the listeners, they've heard about the Elbow Creek deal or the group of us that we've now affectionately started calling the paddle boarders. Hey, maybe I can pick your brain a little bit and you can give me some feedback on how you've seen the process so far. And as we roll into the finish line, right? Because I believe we're about to close on the last few units and we're going to move to sort of phase 2 of the process, which let's get these all leased up and turn them into really profitable long-term rentals. So hear from you about that a little bit.
Yeah, so that's actually the second deal that I've been a part of through the accelerator.
Okay.
So I did an investment in the Daytona 11 townhouses that they had going on.
Yeah.
Yes. So we are of like mind there. So So I participated in that one, and that has been a short-term rental in Daytona Beach Shores, actually.
Yeah.
I made it down there for the first time over Thanksgiving. So I took my family down there. We stayed in the house and experienced it for ourselves for the first time. So purchasing real estate from a distance, has its own challenges, but I think it was very helpful personally. And I think even from just an experience standpoint of actually being there, living in it for a few days, because I had told my family, hey, be on the lookout for what you see and what you experience in this house. And we identified a handful of things that really would, some little things that we could do to make it a better experience. And so, we were able to hopefully kind of tighten those things up and, hopefully give our guests a better experience, which will hopefully lead to, more rentals, more cash flow at the end of the day. And of course, given that first one, once they said, hey, there's another guy who came along and bought a dozen townhomes, of course, I was very excited to raise my hand again and say, hey, I'm down for participating in that. And frankly, I think your deal, Spiros, is going to be, at least from a cash flow perspective, probably even a little bit more, be even more successful. Once we get these things up and rented and going, because I know the property manager seems excited about this opportunity to get those out there and get those going. And I will have to hand it to you, even though you're a Navy guy, you managed to negotiate a fantastic deal with seller financing. So well done, sir.
Oh, thank you, Jason. How about you, Ian? Tell us a little bit about maybe your portfolio, as it were, and maybe what you're working on right now.
Yeah, so I have never bought a house that I've been there to see. The house I'm sitting in, we actually purchased it while we were in New Zealand before we PCS'd over here. Nice. And then my condos that I have in Key West, I also purchased them while I was in New Zealand. My partner is there, so they did get to tour it, but I just did the math. That's all I do is the math. I am emotionally unattached to every acquisition I have except for my bicycles. Everything else is just, does this work for the finances piece of it? So I have those condos in the house here that we'll rent when I PCS out over the summer when I move. And other than that, I've been actually focusing most of my time with Jason on the private lending side, because I realized real quick that in the current market as it sits, you have to be able to have the time to do some renovations and things like that. And frankly, that's not my wheelhouse. I'm like, I can hang a fan and I can change a light bulb.
Right.
I can paint some stuff as long as it's not a lot of it, because I get bored. But I am not going to be doing any kind of major renovation, and I don't trust people enough to do a major renovation from afar. So, so I've been focusing on the private lending piece with Jason, and we both also, partially because of time availability, discussed this when we were in the accelerator, that, man, it's just, we have capital and we can help people do deal analysis.
Right.
We just need people with deals. So let's make this a win-win for everybody. And that's really what we've been working on for the last few months, especially since the VFF conference. And it's starting to catch fire right now. Where we were fielding a phone call about every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, we're now almost two a week.
Wow. That's awesome.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. And so we closed. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to dig into that a little bit, because this is super important, right? So can you just give us some context of how you and Jason, or, Jason, whoever wants to jump in, how you guys, I know you were in the accelerator together, but how did those discussions, for somebody who's listening who has capital or might have a partner who they're looking to do that, how did you start those discussions? What did it develop into? And then let's dig a little bit into it. Like, what are the actual specifics and what are you guys doing? Because I know a lot of people listening are probably really interested in that.
Well, we were on the same team in the accelerator. So that helped.
I mean, I think it comes down to, we were on the same team in the accelerator, and it comes down to partnership, right? I mean, there's a lot of talented folks out there who, we can't do everything ourselves, right? We all have our limits. restrictions. There's certain holes in our skill sets. But, partnerships provide a great solution for filling in those holes, not to mention providing motivation and holding each other accountable. So what is great about the White Feather Network, right? We have that and even Freedom Fries, right? We're all veterans. We're all part of that same brotherhood. And, with that comes that shared experience, and we can feel like we can, have that certain level of trust with one another. So as Ian and I started, to work together, even talk, I think we saw really eye to eye on this opportunity, i.e. lending to other, members in the White Feather community. And, and frankly, that, that trust is required given in our relationship, given that, we're wiring out, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Sure.
And we got to make sure that, we can do that. So, just from a partnership, finding that person and networking, I think is important. And, and I think we've see eye to eye on this specific opportunity, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and to build on that, one of the things we noticed in our accelerator that a lot of the folks, especially younger folks in the accelerator, one of the things they lack is capital, and they have time. And, they want to get on that journey to that financial freedom piece of it. So we look at it as an opportunity to help out the younger folks. And we're not talking the Academy Fund, $2, $3, $4, $5 million stuff. We're talking a couple $100,000 range for your flips or your burrs or something that we're going to get in. We're going to help you get in, and we're hoping you're getting out of it in 6 months with some kind of disposition, whether that's a sell or a refi or whatever you're doing to get out of it. Because look, I mean, up front, we're going to make money on this,
right?
Because we're not idiots,
right.
But we're not doing it to charge an exorbitant amount, but we're also doing it with a level of trust. So we're a lot faster. There's no points, and we'll get into the details in a little bit. But so we do things in a manner that tries to make it more expedient and based on the trust of the network that we have. And so that's kind of what we're doing. So we're, I would say, exclusively in the network or once removed, but people who are part of part of the network in the group.
Yeah, and so I think Ian. Hold on, Spiros. I got something important, and I'll pass it to you. I think Ian and Justin, you guys are both numbers guys, right? And this is such an important thing, I think, especially for newer investors. This is a numbers game, right? So just because Ian and Jason are making money doesn't mean that you can't make money on the deal as well. So you run your numbers, you calculate what those numbers are, you see if your numbers work, and if everybody has numbers that work, you pull the trigger and you create a partnership. So I think some people are so afraid up front of that. Well, this is expensive, or that's going to cost me something, or why should that person? This is a numbers game. If the numbers work, hey, everybody makes money, and we move on and we keep doing it. So that's my 2 cents. Spiros, I don't know if you have something to add there.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say. So it kind of sounds like right now, you guys, you guys have a captive audience that you're catering to, which is sort of this, White Feather, VFF network of people that we're all, surrounded by. Is there a desire on your part to sort of syndicate outside of this type of a network?
Maybe. We really are focused on this because we want to provide that benefit to the community. Yeah. I would say that the way we're set up, and Jason and I have talked about this quite a bit, like, if we went out of the community, it would be literally to another veteran that's a connection to the community.
Right.
That's kind of where we're focused. And there's a bunch of hard money lenders out there. Right. And if you want to have access to us, you need to be part of the community, because that means there's a level of trust. So that's what we're looking at. And to Mike, to build on what you were saying too, is we're numbers guys. But one of the things we do is we analyze the deals given to us to see whether the deal makes sense. Right. But we also analyze it from the perspective of, are you going to make enough money to make it worth your while?
Right.
Because, if you're going to make $25,000 profit, I mean, that sounds like a lot of money for a lot of people. Yeah. And, it's a good chunk of change. But if you had to do 6 months of work for $25,000,
you can utilize your time a little bit better.
Right. So, like, if you don't need the money because your partner, your spouse or significant other has a job, great. If this is just for you to get started, okay, we'll consider that. But if this is your moneymaker and you come to us and tell us you want to make a $30,000 profit in 6 months, we're going to probably tell you, hey, this is not the deal for you.
Right. I mean, and everybody listening, that's huge what Ian is saying, because your average private money lender or hard money lender, whatever you want to call it, they're not running deals with you on the back end and making sure, that the number is going to work out for you. They're looking at their bottom line. They're going to see what their points are, what their fees are. And if their numbers work, guess what? They're going to give you the loan and good luck and have, hopefully you make some money. Hopefully, you come out on top. What Ian and Jason are saying is they're in this with you. They're running the numbers. They're doing their calculations. They're making sure this works for every party involved. And they're not going to, right off the jump, just let you dive into a bad deal, which is, I mean, if you don't have any more comfort with that, I don't know what, what you can do. So that's huge. Yeah, that's huge. Really, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. You're not just getting a lender. You're getting a couple of business partners that have something to offer the deal. Right.
For sure.
Yeah. Because we want this to continue. Right.
That's huge. All right. So talk to us a little bit about, right. So if we have a listener listening, maybe on the newer side, or, somebody in White Feather, or somebody who wants to, learn more about it, or what the process entails, or what the product is. Talk to us a little bit about specifics and kind of what you guys have developed and how you offer that.
Go ahead, Jason.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, you're definitely more the expert and bring a lot of the experience to the table. But, I will just, on a side note, Mike, we do have a bone to pick, right? Because I was driving to dinner 2 weeks ago. I was listening to the last episode of the Freedom Fries podcast.
Oh, boy.
And, trying to get a sense of what we were in for, right? And I believe you were both kind of sharing where you're at in your journeys and what deals you have going on. Yeah. And I hear Mike's story.
I'm sitting here wondering what I said.
Well, no, Mike's saying, hey, I'm back in the game. There's this deal. It was great. And then you know what happened? Is my agent said, I know a hard money lender, and they go, man, she's charging me 2 points up front with 13%. I got monthly interest payments due, and then I think Spiros even jumped in. They're like, man, we have to get her on this podcast. And
so
of course, I immediately call or text Ian saying, you got to listen to these guys, because, Mike invited us onto this podcast to talk about, private money lending and how we do it, which I think is much more advantageous. Much better terms, and so Spiros, we just wanted to know what gives. What gives,
Spiros,
Mike?
Spiros, you know what I'm about to drop on them, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I didn't want to do this on live air for Jason and Ian, but this is full transparency. I gave Jason and Ian that deal first. I emailed it to them, and I didn't get a response.
I sent you the contract to look at.
Oh,
I sent you that deal after you sent me that email.
Oh, I didn't see the deal. Sorry, you should have called.
I thought you guys didn't want to work together. So listen, we got plenty of deals in the pipe work. So this is, but I will put that out there for our listeners. I gave Jason and Ian the deal first before I went to anybody else.
I never saw it. Sorry.
I need to see the stamp on that email.
Oh my goodness!
Or that text message. I don't know.
Go figure.
Anyhow, go ahead, Ian.
Anyways, so this is how we do it. We don't actually do a traditional annualized interest rate. What we do is more of a transactional side. So we give you a very set for your carrying cost. It's based on 90-day increments, and the way we factor our percentages, it's a little heavier percentage up front for a 90-day turn, and then it comes down to like 4%, then to a 3%, then back to 4%, then down to 3%. So depending on how fast you go is your effective annual interest rate, but your costs up front. So if you're a 3-month flip and you got that built in, you know exactly how much it's going to cost you, whether that's 75 days or 90 days. If you know it's going to probably take you longer, then you've got that 180 days and you don't have to rush, because that's just it. And so we also don't require any monthly interest payments. You pay us upon disposition, and there are no points. Because we just don't, not with our group, we just don't do that. We tell them this is how much it costs. So we kind of build everything in. So on the surface, it looks like a higher interest rate, but that's because we've just built everything in.
Right.
Sure.
And so that's the way we're doing it. And then we take a percentage of that to pay for our admin side of the house. And then the rest of it's our own profit. But at this point, we're just reinvesting in. So that's one side. And then the other side is for those who are like new and they're wholesaling. We do earnest money deposit transactional lending with them too. So for new people or people who maybe have too many things in the pipeline and don't have a lot of cash, we can do those very short term, and we just take a chunk of the assignment fee. It becomes like a joint venture, and so you're still going to get your giant assignment fee, whatever you get. We're just going to get a bite of that because we put the money in. And the same for if you have to do double close. The double close, we're going to take a little bit more because that's a lot more money that has to go in, and it's more complicated.
Right.
But so that's the way we do it. We're looking at that, and the intent is for the people who don't have a lot of funds to be able to get in and do this. And so we're a little bit more flexible on what skin you need to put in the game than maybe a hard money lender is, an institutional lender. But again, that's just because it's us. We're doing it in-house, so to speak.
In the family, right. Yeah. And that says a lot about
that's huge. That's huge.
Your process and the way you go about it. And, I would highly recommend anybody that's listening that, is part of our group or is maybe not part of our group, but is a military veteran. I encourage you to reach out to me or Mike, and we'll get you in touch with Ian and Jason, because this is actually, to me, in the little bit that I've learned that I've been in the accelerator and in the real estate game for the past year now, this is it's actually disruptive. It's actually significantly different than everything I've heard from anybody else, and is much more conducive to making a good deal, right? And that's what we all want to do. That's what we all want to do, is make a good deal that makes you want to come back for more. It's kind of like that last sweet shot on hole 18, when you're a shitty golfer like me, and then all of a sudden you hit one and you're like, boy, that sounded and felt great. I'm going to spend $100 to do this again.
Right. Yeah. And I just want to speak to the listeners a little bit, right? Because I can speak to this personally, right? I had a conversation with Ian and Jason. It was a very easy conversation. We all clicked right off the bat. They were completely transparent. The terms were very, very favorable for every party involved. It was expedient. The process seemed to be very easy, and it's different than a hard money lender where you have a lot of fees and you have a lot of upfront money that you need, while hard money lenders will advertise, hey, no down payment required, no fees. That's never true, right? And it's never zero, it's never no money out of pocket. So, what Jason and Ian are proposing it's a super powerful tool that can allow a lot of people, especially in our network, who might be on the fence because they don't have the capital or, they have the time, like Ian and Jason are saying, but they don't have the resources or somebody in the background to fact check them on their numbers. So they're literally saying, we will sit down with you. We'll run the numbers to make sure your numbers match what we have, and we'll give you the money. We'll make some money in the process, but take our money, go flip a house, go burr a house and refinance, and give us our money back, and let's do it again. I mean, I don't. If you're in this game, I don't know what more you could ask for. I mean, personally speaking.
Well, I mean,
at the end of the day,
in your case, Mike, you could have asked for, these 2 Army guys, actually 3 Army guys, to be able to come together and actually
get
out
of
target.
here.
But pick up the phone, man. Pick up the phone.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Jason.
And at the end of the day, too, right? We don't need your last 3 months of bank statements.
Right.
I don't want to see your W-2. I'm not going to call your job to verify employment. Right. We want to see the deal that you're working on. Does it make sense? Are you going to keep yourself out of trouble?
Right.
Trying to also, provide just some analysis, like Ian said. So, we are really looking for that 70% ARV, right? Just to make sure that there's enough cushion in there, right? If it's your first deal, I mean, it's real estate, right? Things are going to go wrong. I mean, Spiros, things happen, right?
Right.
Yep. Things happen.
And so, that's going to provide some cushion in there for you and for us. And then we're also going to just make sure that, hey, the cash is going to be there at the end of the day where it's worth your time,
right?
As well as our time.
That's
Can you guys
worth our investment?
Right. Can you guys talk a little bit about like the actual process? What does it look like from start to finish in terms of, let's say somebody reaches out, hey, I have a potential deal. Here are the numbers. What's the next step in that process from that to closing, to funding the deal, to, doing the transaction and giving the money back to you guys? Just a little bit in the nitty gritty.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. One is reach out, make contact. We get on the phone, have a call or a video call. We want to get a sense of who you are, right? What's your experience level too? Then send us the deal. We'll take a look at the numbers. I like to see pictures or videos of it too, because if you're telling me it's a $10,000 reno or rehab, and I look at this and go, that's 1935 carpet. You need to make sure you've covered for the flooring. And by the way, it's a 1930 house. What's the wiring? Have you budgeted for all of these things, or do you know that they're updated?
With cast iron piping that you're going to have to replumb the whole entire house?
Right. Are you knob and tube wiring with cast iron pipes and full of lead? Let me know. So we do like to look at that, and we'll talk about those things with folks. And then once we've decided, if the numbers work out, we have a good feel for you, then it's quick discussion back and forth. Jason and I will get together privately, make the call, and then we let them know via email or text. And then we send the contract over. They sign the contract, and we go from there. Once they get their deal accepted, if they need the EMD included, that goes into part of the deal as well. And we just wire the money over and wire it over to the escrow agent, and away they go.
Yeah. So I have a question. On that process. For people that are kind of new to this, do you want people to come to you when they're just thinking about making an offer on a deal? Do you prefer that people come to you when they've already got it under contract? I'm trying to understand when the right time is to reach out to Jason and Ian.
So it depends on who you are. You guys know Taylor Wing, right? We've worked with him and Will. If you're Taylor and Will, just come to me when you have the deal. Right. If we've worked together a number of times and you've done this 100 times, come to me when you got the deal. If you're new to this, and this is only and you haven't done this if you're still in one hand, let's talk before your deal is done.
Sure.
Let's talk first, let's see what you got. So we can go through some of these wickets before you make an offer, because sometimes we have a couple people who have come to us with an offer in mind, and we had to redo the numbers for them and tell them, if you do that number, you're at 80%, or you're at 74, 75%, but really when you put your contingency in there, you're at 80%. And by the way, you're going to use your contingency.
100%. So you need to readjust, to either ask for a lower offer price or, move some things around.
Right. So it like I said, Spiros, it all depends for us. It all depends on what your experience is and what your experience with us is.
Sure. Great.
A great example is frankly today, right? I just got back from the gym this morning. My phone rings. I didn't recognize the name or remember the name. He says, "Hey, we spoke, I think October. You guys still lending money?" And said, "Yeah, sure." And so he was telling me about, his deal and a little bit about his partner and his experience. I said, "This sounds great." We did a Zoom call, I think at 1:00.
Yep.
And he showed us the deal, told us all about, he and his partner's relationship, where they're buying, the types of things that they're looking at, the types of things they're doing. And we got off the Zoom, and Ian and I spoke and sent him an email 10 minutes later saying, "All right, go get your deal. Good luck."
Perfect.
Nice.
Man, that's awesome.
It's that simple. And then when they dispo their deal, they wire as part of escrow, we get our money back we're first out. And then that's it.
And what do you guys do? So with title, are you guys just putting you guys are the primary lien holder and to make, to just make sure you're protecting your asset and moving on from there.
And for folks we don't know, or it's their first time, we also do a personal recourse until we get better feeling for you.
Sure. Listen, everybody needs to be protected. So there's, nothing wrong with taking precautions.
So let me shift gears kind of on us a little bit. but it is in the context of what we're talking about. Can you guys comment a little bit about what you think 2024 is going to look like, and maybe how it is going to affect your business model? I mean, obviously, it sounds like you guys went through the accelerator, you developed a relationship, and you both kind of focused in on the same lane, right? And now you're in that lane. How do you think what we're headed into right now is going to affect what you're doing? Is it going to enhance it? Is it going to restrict it? Do you guys think you'll have to pivot, or do you think you're in the right lane for the time being?
All right, I'll leave them
speechless. I
was going to see $1 million question. So well,
if you're
I have to caveat this with, this is my opinion, not the opinion of the United States Army workout. Blah, blah, blah.
There you go.
Right? So look, I think that what we're seeing now is, as you see inflation slowing down, you're seeing monetary policy hasn't quite eased up yet. You're seeing capital restrictions that have been in place. You're probably not going to see any easing of that, especially under the current administration. I think that you're not likely going to see a very steep drop in interest rates back to anything, maybe 5.5 for your private home. But I think you're still going to be above 6 for commercial, unless you're someone who's got $1 billion in the bank. So I think you're still going to see that. And I think you're going to continue to see tightened credit, meaning it's just going to be harder to get loans regardless of the interest rate for especially new investors. So I think what we're doing is still going to be, frankly, I don't think that's ever going to be an area where we're going to be oversaturated unless we go back down to 2% loans, 3% loans. But even for that, the folks who are flippers and things like that, they're still going to always need some kind of capital. Absolutely. And banks aren't always willing to do this. So I think we're on the right track still. And I think we're on the right track for the right people, more importantly.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
As far as everything else, I mean, I don't think China's going to attack Taiwan. That's pretty much, I can go with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Predictions are really hard, especially about the future, right? But I think what's been interesting, and this happened in one case where there was an accelerator grad who was purchasing and developed a portfolio of short-term rentals. And basically, I think the conclusion he came to was rates are so high and home prices are still elevated that it's hard to find those deals now. And so he was actually shifting to try to do some BRRRR type deals in order to continue to make some money. And so I don't know if that's the sign of maybe a switch where obviously what Ian and I are doing will help fill that, fill that hole, or if that's the strategy folks want to start taking, given that it's just harder to find a house that, and purchase it at that price where you can rent it out and easily cover your mortgage. That's clearly just very, very difficult to do at this point. But if you do want to switch your strategy to, fix and flips, and you need that short-term money, we're here.
That's awesome.
Yeah. If I could add one other thing, the other thing too, we've done with one person so far, and it's something we can do is, like, if they know they can get money from another a lender that's a longer term loan, but they need to buy fast because they need to close fast.
Right.
We're perfect for that. Like, okay, yep. So we did it with one. We just did it with one person. They needed it to close the deal fast, and we're going to get our money back in about less than 30 days, we think, or about 30 days.
Almost like a mini bridge loan to get them to to their other loan. Yeah,
exactly.
Not a bad deal. In and out quick. Make some money here and have the money back in your bank account so you can give it to somebody else. What is there obviously BRRRRs and flips are quicker rehabs that people are looking to do. Is there a normal range that you guys are comfortable with lending that money out? Is it the 3 to 4 month range, the 3 to 6? I would imagine, you want to as quickly as you can get it back so you can recycle it again.
Yeah. 3 to 6 is what we look for generally, but
okay.
We understand,
right.
How things go.
Right.
Mike,
Yeah, things happen.
You've done a series of flips. I mean, what do you
Yeah,
think?
I've done a couple of flips.
Is 3 to 6 months?
I think 3 to 6 months is perfect. 3 months is pushing it, right? It's hard to just to get everything in place and, get your contractors aligned and just getting all the ducks in a row. 3 months is quick. It's not impossible, but I think the sweet spot there is like 3.5, 4.5 months. You can, if you're efficient and you have everything aligned and you're managing everything appropriately, you can get in and out quick, right? Especially if you have a good sales agent on the back end, right? Because that's, that could be a killer right there. If something sits on the market for 100 days, you're toast. So you got to get, market it correctly, have the price dialed in so you're not, too high and you're not sitting there. And now you look desperate on Zillow because you've price cut 10 different times. So yeah, it's a lot of moving pieces, but it's definitely doable. So I think that's a good time frame. That's a really good time frame.
It's good. It's good stuff.
All right, so guys, tell me if listeners are listening or somebody in White Feather who don't know you guys, or somebody wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way? Is there something that we can link here in the show notes that will give them contact you? Obviously, we don't want to give it out to the world, right? But maybe there's there's a general inbox or something, or they can direct, DM us and we can kind of be a little bit of a filter and say, yeah, well, this might not be the right connection, or if it is, we can forward over to you guys. What do you think's the best way?
Yeah, that's probably the best way to DM you guys right from the start. We're still working on putting some other things together that would help filter that. But again, I would say we're like 98% exclusive to White Feather. And if you're outside White Feather, you better have it. It's only through a connection of White Feather. Sure. And it's a trusted connection through White Feather, a known entity, not someone who I attended the real estate accelerator. I haven't really done anything since. I've never interacted with anybody. But I know these guys. Yeah.
I've listened to 100 podcasts, but I've never done anything, so I'm an expert.
That's right.
No, you guys will probably be getting a call from my son, Will. Mike's been working with Will a little bit on stuff, and he's been kind of over my shoulder throughout the whole White Feather Accelerator thing. And
yeah,
definitely.
Cranking, man. He's doing a lot of very cool things, and he's got a little bit of money that he's made on his own because he's a real estate agent. But, whatever you make is never enough for what you want to do. So
definitely.
Right. Well, he gets an extra point, extra point fee for being Navy. But
I got you. That's all.
I love it.
That's all good.
Hey, guys, before we close this thing out, I would love to hear just maybe if you could give a word of wisdom to anybody who's maybe starting out in real estate or, personal financing, whatever it is, kind of, just maybe a tip or a trick, something that's helped you along the way that they can implement.
Jason has much more knowledge and experience, so I'll let him go first, and then I'll follow up with Rando. Okay.
No, I mean, I think it's, if you're going to go do this, there's 100 great podcasts out there. Freedom Fries obviously being at the top.
Oh yeah.
Go learn and go network, right? Because, at some point, you want to just go in and get that confidence built up to go do your first deal. Right. And that's usually I think we're in our own heads, and that's the biggest hurdle in most cases. Right. And so, if you have a network and some, friends in this business that you can, maybe run some ideas by or touch base with, I think it could, potentially help give you that confidence to make the leap and go get it done.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So my bit of advice would be, first, don't be stupid. And this is more focused for the young people because when I was a young lieutenant, I had a really good time. If I would have had just a little bit less of a good time, I'd have a lot more money now. Sure. So, and I think it's harder, especially for what you see with younger people nowadays. They leave their parents' home and they want to move into something like their parents' home. Right. They want to have nice things. And I get that. I like my cush stuff, but when I was a lieutenant, I lived in a crap hole apartment with 2 other lieutenants. But the reason I say that like that is, be smart when you're young, especially do these things that you can, like the house hack mentality, save your money because you don't have to put a kid in school. You don't have to put clothes on them and feed them. So save that money. Maybe only go out to the bars on the weekend. and not Monday through Saturday, Monday through Sunday through Thursday, right? Just keep it a Friday and Saturday,
Right.
And don't get the F-150,
Mhm.
Thunderbolt $80,000 truck or car, because guess what? You don't need it.
Right.
I have a nice little Ford Escape that I got when we came back from New Zealand. You know what? It's great. Gets me where I
Perfect.
need to go.
Fantastic.
Right. And I ride my bike to work most days because, I fill up my tank like once a month.
That's awesome.
So, don't spend needlessly, because if you want to be financially free, it starts with not pissing away your paycheck, right? And a $800, $1,000 a month car payment when you make $5,000 a month is way too much.
Right.
So just focus on what's important long term, not that short term. I want to look cool. What looks cool? Being able to retire at 38 because you have $7 million in the bank.
Boom.
Dude,
that's
so,
I mean, that if anybody doesn't, if you listen to 1 second of this podcast, listen to that. I mean, that's I when I was teaching at West Point, I preached that I took one class, a semester, and I taught them real estate and just talked them to it. And I said, listen, guys, please don't get wrapped up in the shiny objects, right? It's all right to have fun and treat yourself and to do things here and there. But like Ian said, I literally said the word for word. I was like, it's also fun being 35 and you don't have to answer to anybody and you're retired and you can do what you want. That's also fun.
So I'll tell you this, I'm 26, almost 26 years in the Army, and I can retire now and walk away. And so when I had my last conversation with the GO and he was asking what I wanted to do, and I told him what I wanted, and I got a little hem and haw, and I had explained to him, sir, I don't need the Army. I can walk and I'm fine.
Yeah. It's like, hey, sir,
it's nice.
Yes. Sir, I'm just letting you know, like, this isn't a conversation. I'm letting you know what I want. If not, I'm out of here.
And that's exactly how it went. And I got what I want.
There you go.
So that's the thing. But if I was smarter when I was younger, I'd have been able to do that 10 years ago.
Right.
I'll tell you what, Ian, you've come a long way in the wisdom department since you made that choice to join the Army. I'm just saying.
Oh, man. Gents, obviously cannot thank you both enough, man. This was awesome. A lot of good knowledge in here and a lot of good helpful resources for someone who's listening, who really from the wide range of spectrum of folks, right? From beginners to somebody who's experienced, who's, might have something tied up and they're looking to keep going. So, we cannot thank you enough, both enough, right? We'll definitely be a filter for you. We'll link your names here in the bio. So if anybody wants to look you up or find you, they can. But, we super thankful for your time, and we'll definitely get you guys back on the show maybe in a few months or so we can do an update and see if anybody else needs anything.
Yeah, guys,
Sounds
and
good.
I'll tell you, we do enjoy the ribbon, the Army Navy ribbon, but I think the real key takeaway here is you got 4 guys who I've met Jason, but it was literally a 30-second conversation.
Yeah,
4 guys who have never met each other, right? But we all have that same fabric that builds our bones, and it's that veteran experience. It's that servant mentality and that desire to serve people around us. And now what we're doing is we're serving each other, right? So my piece of advice to somebody coming up is, whether you're a veteran or you're not, you need to find your network. You need to find a tribe. You need to find a group of people that you can trust, that you can support, that can support you. And that's going to be your key to success, not only in the real estate, but in life in general. I just thank you guys all, for your service, and in your case, Ian, your continued service. Just incredible. And it's been a privilege for me to get to know you guys today. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
same here.
It's been great.
Thanks, guys.
No, thank you for having us. This was great, and keep up the great work, guys. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate that. Thank you, guys.